The cost of living is completely out of control. It is no joke at this point. It seems like everywhere you look, the cost of everything is just constantly skyrocketing. Groceries are at an all-time high. Housing is insane. Gas is almost $2 a liter. And if you've been feeling the squeeze, you are not the only one, I can promise you that. The fact is that more people than ever are finding themselves living paycheck to paycheck, going into debt and unable to cover their bills. The problem is that despite the fact that everything has become so much more expensive, wages have just not kept up, not even close. So one of the most important things you can do to safeguard yourself against inflation, against the increasing cost of living, and against putting yourself into unnecessary debt is to save up a big nest egg, a big emergency fund, a pile of money that you can have set aside for a rainy day, for when you most need it, for when you're short on your bills, and to help get yourself a little bit ahead in life to make sure that your day-to-day is not so stressful.
Oh my God! Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure, everyone?
While $10,000 may not be a life-changing amount of money in the long term, I do believe that it is the first important milestone that you can reach when it comes to setting savings goals, and it is the first milestone that will allow you to feel like maybe you can breathe at least a little bit. And so in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 10 easy money-saving tips that will help you save up your first $10,000. And most importantly, I'll be showing you how to do it without sacrificing your small day-to-day luxuries. So if your savings account is currently at zero or close to zero, $10,000 might seem very daunting, but it's all about how you look at it. The truth is that $10,000 over the span of a year is really only $27.40 per day. So rather than looking at it as how can I possibly save $10,000, look at it instead as how could I save $27 per day, or how can I make an extra $27 per day? And that's the important point here, is that there's really only two ways to save up money. You either have to spend less or make more. And we're going to touch on both of those things in this video. But I do think that making more money, particularly in a low effort way, is generally the best way to get started. So tip number one is to sell your crap. If you look around your house or you look around your apartment, I can almost guarantee you will find a number of things, big and small, that you simply don't use, don't need, maybe don't even like. And they're not only taking up space, but they are holding value that you could otherwise use for better things. So take an hour to go through your place, gather up all the stuff that you no longer need, take some pictures and throw them up on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or Kijiji or whatever platform you prefer, and start making some money. This is something that I personally do all the time. In fact, it's very rare that I ever get rid of or declutter anything without selling it and getting at least a few dollars for it. You'd be very surprised how quickly it could add up. I'm talking clothes, old tech gear, electronics, furniture, kitchen stuff, you name it, there's somebody out there who will give you at least something for it, and you might as well get rid of it if you're not using it. Oh, my knees. I'm getting old for sitting on the floor, man. Tip number two is to get a side hustle. As I mentioned, your options really are to either spend less or make more. Ideally both, but believe it or not, it is usually actually easier to make more than it is to spend less, particularly if you're already on a pretty strict budget. So picking up a side hustle can be an absolute game changer because it allows you to keep living the lifestyle you've been living and spending the way you've currently been spending, while basically bringing in an entire secondary income that you can hopefully save 100% of, or at least very close to 100% of. Your side hustle can be anything from shoveling snow to cutting grass to walking dogs to painting houses to flipping things online. I personally love doing that, and I've talked about that many times. In fact, I made a video last summer detailing 25 side hustle ideas that pay a minimum of $50 per hour. I'll link to it up here and in the description box down below so you can check it out if you haven't seen it yet. But basically, find something that you like, find something that you're decently good at, and do it for a couple hours a week. It doesn't have to be another full-time job. It shouldn't be another full-time job. But if you can find something that you can do just for a couple hours to earn you an extra $50 or $100 a week, it will do a lot to reduce your financial stress and set you up towards that 10K goal. Hey, by the way, just one quick thing. If you're enjoying this video so far and getting some value from it, maybe drop a like. So the next tip is one that I personally think should be the most obvious, but often it just isn't, and that's to ask for a raise. If you've been at your job for any length of time whatsoever and you've been doing even a half-decent job, ask your boss for a raise. The very worst that they can say is no, and then nothing changes. But if they say yes, even just giving you a small raise is the easiest way to earn more money without any extra effort whatsoever. Even an extra $1 per hour will be an extra $40 a week if you're working full time, and that's over $2,000 more per year than you were making previously. And on a slightly more controversial side, if you're self-employed like I am, raise your rates. But I'm dead serious. I honestly don't care what you do for a living. I don't care if you're a plumber, if you're a hairdresser, if you're a mechanic, whatever it is that you do, if you work for yourself, raise your rates. Raise your rates and raise them often.
I'll keep it short and sweet. Family, religion, friendship. These are the 3 demons you must slay if you wish to succeed in business.
The truth is that with every client you work with, every project you complete, you're now a little bit more experienced, and that experience should come at a cost. Raising your rates is the easiest way to generate more income without actually having to work more hours or to even work harder than you currently are. If your schedule is mostly almost always full, you should absolutely be raising your rates. If when you tell people what you charge, they don't hesitate whatsoever before proceeding, you should absolutely be raising your rates. If you have a dedicated clientele who likes you and who refers you out to their friends and family and who want to work specifically with you, you should be raising your rates. Regardless of what industry you work in, raising your rates by 10% once or twice a year is most likely not going to be noticed or cared about by the vast majority of your customers. If you are an auto mechanic that charges $50 for an oil change, start charging $55. If you're a freelance web designer and you charge like $3,000 for a website, charge $3,300. If people find true value in the services you offer, they're not going to mind paying a tiny bit more for it. Apply for a new job. If you ask for a raise and your boss says no, apply for a new job. Hell, if you ask for a raise and your boss says yes, but it's not a good enough raise, you should still apply for a new job. One of the best ways to significantly increase your income is to switch jobs. The days of working for the same company for 40 straight years are long gone, and the best way to significantly increase your income is to change jobs every 2 to 3 years. You may not even realize it, but there are probably companies out there paying 25 to 30% more for the same job you're already doing. So there's no real reason you should accept being underpaid. Switch jobs, work there for a couple years, and then guess what? Do it again. Another easy thing you can do to generate some extra income is to rent out a part of your home. That can mean renting out an extra bedroom if you have one, but if you're like me and you're adverse to strangers living in your space, you could also rent out other things. If, for example, you have a nice big backyard, there's actually apps you can use that will allow you to rent out your yard to people who have dogs and live in apartments and want somewhere to let their dogs run around for an hour or two. If you have an extra spot on your driveway or in your garage, you can rent it out to somebody who has an extra car and nowhere to put it. If you have a swimming pool, there are apps that will allow you to rent your pool out per hour. You can rent out pretty much any part of your home that you're not currently actively using all the time, and there's probably somebody who will gain value from it and are willing to pay you for it. And in my opinion, that's one of the easiest and lowest effort ways to generate a little bit of passive income. And who doesn't want to generate some low effort passive income? I know I do. I feel like this one should actually be higher up on the list, but it's pay off your bad debts. If you have credit card bills, if you have a car loan, if you have anything that you're paying a high percentage of interest on, pay it off. It is wasting money. You are literally burning money every single month that you're paying interest on your consumer purchases. It can be costing you $50, $100, or even several $100s a month for no necessary reason. So before you do anything else, pay off your bad debts. You want up jump? Up jump. Hi, buddy. I love you. One of my favorite ways to earn extra money, and I'm not going to call this a side hustle because it is something that you can't do necessarily as consistently, but it is something that I've done many times to earn extra money over the years, and I found it to actually be pretty fun, and that is focus groups. If you go online and you search focus groups in my area, you'll find market research companies that will pay you money to attend meetings either in person or sometimes even just over Zoom, and they will ask you to give them your opinions on different products and different services, and they'll pay you very, very well for doing so. A lot of people think these things are scams, and I promise you they are not. There are legitimate companies who offer these things, and you can get paid $50, $100, even as much as a few $100s for an hour of your time to just give them your thoughts on a certain product or certain service. Over the years, I've probably earned a few $1,000s easily doing this. I've done a focus group about Nestea. I've done a focus group about bank fees and accounts. I've done a focus group about photography at Costco, just the most random things. But if you're in the demographic they are looking for, they will pay you very, very well. And you basically just get to sit around and like talk for an hour and then leave with $200. And to me, that is easy, easy money. Don't budget. I know that's probably the opposite of what you're expecting me to say, but budgeting is a big mistake that a lot of people make, which allows them to allocate too much money to different categories that they probably shouldn't be allocating money to, and allows them to really lose track of how much money they're spending on things that truly aren't necessary. The anti-budget is the way to go. I made a video all about it, which I will link to up here and down there, so you can check it out and get more details about how this works. But using an anti-budget will allow you to prioritize your savings over your spending and really allow you to get a better picture of where every dollar is going versus where it actually should be going. If you currently follow a budget and you have a line for entertainment, you have a line for eating at restaurants, you have a line for coffee, you have a line for shopping, all of those things together are probably equaling a lot more money than you might realize, and there are better ways you can be organizing your finances. Meal prep, or at the very least, learn to cook yourself a few simple meals. I think the real reason most people eat out more often than they should is not because they even really want to, but just because they come home from work, they're tired, and they just don't have the patience to put together a good meal for themselves, which to a certain extent is valid, but you have to be better prepared. Find a couple things that are not too hard to make, that you enjoy, that you can slap together either ahead of time or quickly the night of, and cook yourself your meals at home. It'll save you so much money. I feel like I've said this a million times on the channel, but I can't really articulate enough how overpriced restaurant food is, and it's not the healthiest for you either. So learn to cook yourself at least 3 or 4 meals, or prepare some things on the weekends that will be good for the weeknights when you get home late, and stop ordering Uber Eats. Jesus. And last, but certainly not least, use what I call the $2 rule. Now the $2 rule for you might be the $1 rule, it might be the $5 rule, but basically what this rule states is that every single time you make a purchase of whatever type, no matter how big or how small, you have to transfer yourself $2 from your checkings to your savings that you do not touch. So if you go out for coffee, that's fine, you're gonna transfer $2 extra to your savings. If you pay a bill, a utility bill, that's great, you're gonna transfer $2 extra from your checkings to your savings. Every single time you make a purchase or you make a payment on something, transfer $2. Or if you can only manage $1, transfer $1. Or if you can manage $5 or $10, even better. But decide what amount feels comfortable to you and set this rule. Every single time you spend money, you're gonna set aside a very small amount of money into a separate account. That means that if you make 1 purchase in a day, you're gonna set aside $2. But that also means that if you make 10 purchases in a day, you're gonna set aside $20. And you'll be surprised how quickly that money adds up, and you may not even notice that you're missing it, which is probably the best part. One of the best parts about hitting your first $10,000 goal, in my opinion, is the momentum that it builds. You get to $10,000, you feel so accomplished, you feel so proud of yourself, and you see what you're really capable of when you try hard, and it makes you want to keep going. And quickly that 10,000 becomes 20,000, that 20,000 becomes 50,000, the 50,000 becomes $100,000. I think that there's a common misconception that saving money isn't any fun, but I absolutely beg to differ. There is no better feeling in the world than opening up your savings account and seeing security, knowing that when you have a bill coming in, you don't have to scramble to figure out where that money's gonna come from, knowing that if something goes wrong, if you have to take a day off work, if you get sick, if you get laid off, that at least for a few weeks or ideally even for a few months, you are set, you are okay, and that you're not gonna find yourself in a bad situation. Maybe it's just me, maybe I'm no fun, but I don't really think that there's a single purchase in this world that feels better than security and stability. If you enjoyed this video at all, if you found it at all valuable or helpful or even just entertaining, please hit that like button. It takes you 1 second, it costs you nothing, and it really actually does help out this channel a lot. Likewise, please consider subscribing if you haven't done so yet. I make a ton of videos about ways to save money and enrich your life, and so definitely hit subscribe so you don't miss out. I'm getting very, very close to 20,000 subscribers, and I appreciate every single one of you. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at according_to_Nicole. Other than that, thank you guys so much as always for watching. Take care, and I will see you next week.